Hi. For those that don't know me, I'm Virginia Walton, and I'm an executive burnout coach, helping corporate women overcome their stress, continue to be productive, and do so in a healthy way so they don't burn out. Prior to starting my coaching practice, I spent 24 years in the banking and finance industry, where I worked my way from teller at a small community bank to senior vice president of a $27 billion bank by the time I was 38. Yeah, I nearly burnt out along the way. So while I'm grateful for the success that came from my hard work and dedication, it cost me some stuff along the way, and I don't want to see anybody else do that or pay that price. So that's why I'm here to help. So, that's me. Let's get into today's topic. How to manage the greatest source of messages you receive. So if you think about it, we're constantly getting messages, right? Emails, texts, voicemails, instant message, social media messages. Heck, you walk in the house and your Siri or Alexa probably spout off some sort of message at you. It's constant, right? I grew up in the age where the news was in the evening, and if you missed it, TV shut down and stopped broadcasting at midnight, and you waited till the paper the next day, right? It wasn't this constant flow. This is our new world, right? Notifications, messages from every which way. So we're not going to stop that. But here's what I want to know. Are those messages moving you forward? Or are they moving you back? And where are they coming from, right? Your boss, your colleagues, your team, your family, your kids, cousins, parents, podcasts, Real Housewives, or whatever reality TV show you like to secretly watch. I won't tell. All these messages coming at us. Are they moving you forward? Or are they holding you back? Think about that for a second. You know? Is everybody in your family judging you, telling you what to do? Or are they rallying around you and encouraging you? There's been a lot of change. In the last years, people change jobs by choice, by force. People are making decisions as different requirements are being input on places of employment. Everybody's got an opinion. Are they supporting you? Or are they stopping you? The same with all your other sources of information. Here's the really cool thing about a lot of those. Yeah, we get information from all kinds of sources. A lot of them have a delete option. Unfollow. Change the channel. Unsubscribe. Turn off the radio. So if those messages are stressing you out, scaring you, making you feel inferior, get away from them. They're not helping you. Okay? You don't need them. Now, some of them you might say, I can't delete my boss, and I can't turn off my kids. Yeah, that's true. But you do have control even in those situations. Right? At the end of the day, your boss really wants you to do good work. They look good when their team does good work. So, even if they're a complete you-know-what in the you-know-where, they still want good quality work out of you. And if they're berating you and belittling you, that's not going to happen. Right? So I'm using the extreme. I'm picturing the worst, biggest asshole boss you could have, who couldn't say a kind thing if his life depended on it, or her life. Well, one, if it's that bad, you don't have to deal with that. If you think, Virginia, it's the holidays, I can't quit my job, I survived the cuts last year, I'm not rocking the boat. Well, if it's that bad, you don't have to quit. There's a lot of job opportunities. People, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. There's a lot of help wanted signs around. You can find something else. So you can tell yourself it's temporary. If it's really awful, go to HR. Yeah, you have that right. Even if you're an executive or high-level middle executive, right? Go. Odds are most of us, it's not that bad. You probably have a decent boss who just has a bad day or doesn't realize how they come across. Maybe they think they're being funny. I remember one time getting pulled into HR when I was a new manager. I said something in jest, thought nothing of it, went on with my day. Apparently it bothered a couple people. I didn't think it would be perceived the way it was. I didn't know. Okay. It made me aware. I changed my style. I didn't want something I said to make them feel less than they were. So have a conversation with your boss. Hey, do you realize how that comes across? Odds are they don't. Again, if they're the flaming a-hole, that's a whole nother level. You've got to take strong actions. But if it's just the occasional, hey, do you realize how your emails sound? Or ask, did I do something to upset you that I'm receiving a tone that seems like you're not happy with me in whatever way? Have the conversation. Same, especially if it's a colleague, a peer. You don't have to, probably just not aware. Right? We all have blind spots. Talk to them. You do have control over that. Now, maybe you can't do the same with your mother-in-law. I get that. But you can have a conversation with your spouse and be mindful. And it's also about what you tell yourself, right? Holidays are coming. And thankfully, hopefully this year we'll be able to celebrate them with our family and friends. That means our family's coming, and sometimes that's tough. So, you can't change what your mother-in-law or your uncle or that cousin who you love them because they're family, but you guys are just on different wavelengths says. Here's what you can control. The message you tell yourself, right? You can tell you that they are a giant pain. They're an idiot. They're extreme, left, right, liberal, conservative, whatever. Whatever choice of adjectives. Is that going to help make the holiday meal any better? Probably not. Probably not. But if you remind yourself, they're good to my kids, they're their uncle, their cousin, their aunt, their godparent, they love them. I want them to have a relationship with them. We don't agree politically, we don't agree on social issues, whatever. Focus on the good. Why, even though you don't agree on issues, you still care about them and that they care about you. It's your mental game. This is the next source of message we're going to talk about. Because you may get a ton of email and IMs and voicemails to the point you're drowning. I remember when I first got out of college, the only thing I wanted in a job was email. It was new then. I'm that old. And then I remember being a senior vice president and getting 80 emails a day. And I'm like, oh, dear God. What was I thinking? I got what I wanted. And I'm drowning in them. But here are the messages you get even more than all of those forms of electronic communications that are coming out as nonstop. It's the messages in your head. It's the things you tell yourself. You can call it your conscious, your inner voice. I grew up with the images of the good and the bad devils, the angel and the devil telling you what to do. Whatever you call it. It's what you tell yourself. And guess what? There's no delete. There's no unfollow. You can't disconnect your mind. You can quiet it, but it's always with you. So, are those messages moving you forward, or are they holding you back? I bet probably most. It varies day to day. Maybe some days it's all moving you forward, and some days it's all moving you back, and somewhere it's probably usually a 60-40 split, flipping back and forth, right? I struggle with it. Now, some of you may think affirmations are hokey. I know I used to think it's a little silly. You know, they work. They really do if you work them. Now, I'm not saying if I just sat here all day saying, I'm going to be skinny. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. That tomorrow I've lost 10 pounds. You got to do the work with it, right? Again, holidays are upon us, right? Desserts are coming. Our local fire department is making homemade apple pies and selling them this Sunday for Thanksgiving. And I know one's coming to my house. I think maybe 2 now. My cousins make great desserts. I'm not going to say no. It'll be good to be together. And food is part of the experience. So let's use this as an example, right? Most people struggle with extra goodies, especially if we're able to gather this year. And if you've gone back to the office and people can bring food in and, you know, the vendors you use are sending those incredible holiday gift baskets. It's tough to resist. What are you telling yourself? You're saying, I'm fat. I have no willpower. I always gain weight in the holidays. Every year. Doesn't really sound really encouraging, does it? But what if you told yourself, you know what? I'm grateful we're having the cookie exchange this year. We couldn't have it last year. I'm going to indulge and enjoy some of everybody's cookies that day. But just that day. I'm going to enjoy one day. Okay, you're not depriving yourself. You're acknowledging I'm going to eat a whole lot of cookies and have a whole lot of fun. I'm not going to let that one day derail me from my overall health goals. Listen, I'm guilty. I think at breakfast this morning I said I'm fat. Because I put on weight this year. I'll admit it. And that wasn't my goal. I'm resetting. I've got a new target date. Okay. So I could say, oh, I have no discipline. I can't control myself. Or I could say, you know what? All right. Life got a little out of balance. I'm getting back on track. I'm going to be conscious. Keep it at your forefront, right? It's dark. It's getting cold. You're extra busy with holiday stuff, year-end stuff. It's easy to say, I'm too tired to exercise. I'm too busy to exercise. Or you could say, I'm going to make sure I get in at least 20 minutes of something. Something is better than nothing. And that exercise will give me more energy. I need to get in a walk. I need to get on the treadmill. I need to go take a class at the gym. At least 3 days this week. Tell yourself that. If you remind yourself, you make it a goal, it'll help move you forward than I'm too tired to exercise. Because when you say that, I felt tired just saying it. I couldn't say, I'm too tired to exercise. Nobody says that. You're like, I'm too tired. So you feel it. These are the messages we need to focus on, people. The messages we're telling ourselves. You have them all the time. Some of them we're not even aware of. As you aimlessly stick your hands in that bag of chips. I'm full. Right? There's a great commercial for a weight loss program that talks about the messaging. And it shares a guy who shows him cleaning everything off his plate, sopping it up. Every meal he goes, oh, I was conditioned as a child. The messages I got was you have to clean your plate. Every meal you have to clean your plate. Now as an adult, that message is with him. So what messages are you telling yourself? I'm really going to tug at the heartstrings. The messages you say about yourself, particularly women, your children hear. Right? We know young girls struggle with body image issues as they get into their teens. Think about what you say about you. If you're saying I'm fat, I'm chubby. You know, I'm ugly. My skin is terrible. It's not going to improve any of those things. You're not going to feel any better about yourself. And your kids are going to hear you say that. And then they're going to start to tell themselves that every time they get a pimple as they hit puberty. Every time they see somebody at school who's a little thinner as they get a little older. Those internal messages are so much more impactful than every other source of message you get. Yeah. So really take some time and think about what you're saying. Because ultimately, those messages that you're telling yourself impact you, and that's how you show up to everybody around you. So if you tell yourself, I'm exhausted, I can't keep doing this, that could be true. You could be at a complete point of exhaustion. How are you going to show up? Not sure? Let me tell you. Exhausted. You're going to show up exhausted. You're going to look exhausted. Your energy in that meeting, whether it's on Zoom or actually back in a conference room, you're going to look exhausted. Even if it's by phone, it'll be sound in your voice. Yeah, today's report out. You got to change the messages that you tell yourselves. They are so important. And if you feel uncomfortable thinking, I'm not saying you've got to sit and write affirmations and stand in front of the mirror, right? We flash back to the old Saturday Night Live bit. I'm wonderful. People like me. You know, I forget what else it was, but I can picture the character. You don't have to, after you brush your teeth, stand in front of the mirror and say, I'm smart, I'm fit. You can. It's great. But you give yourself messages all day. How many times have you walked out of a meeting or hung up on a conference call and say, well, that didn't go the way I wanted it to. And then you berate yourself. Or maybe you didn't like what somebody else said. And you just replay it in your head over and over. That asshole, how dare he talk to me like that? Oh yeah, I used to do that. A lot. And you know what? It didn't help. It didn't change what was said. It didn't improve my relationship with my colleague. All it did was waste time and drain me. How dopey is that? I let somebody's snippy, snide, obnoxious comment take me off my game. Why am I giving them that power? When I finally started to realize that snippy, snide, biting, sarcastic comment really wasn't about me. It was about them. What was going on in their day? What was going on in their life? How they were feeling? How they were showing up? When I started reminding myself that was the message I was giving myself, that their actions were about them, not me, I stopped spending time on it. I found myself actually smiling instead of scowling. I'm like, oh. Maybe I even felt a little bad some days. No, you must be having a shit day. But I didn't let it affect me. You know what? I was more productive. I moved on. I moved forward. I went back to what I needed to do. I didn't let them and their message drive me and hold me back. So if what you're telling yourself, whether it's your own messages about your work, right? I remember one time I used the wrong form of the word ensure. Yeah, I meant E-N-S-U-R-E, but I spelled it I-S-U-R-E. And my boss called me out. I felt like a moron, right? This is something we learn in grammar school, high school. Here I was, a senior vice president, and the chief risk officer just pointed out this dopey mistake because spell check didn't catch it. It's the right spelling, wrong word. I felt like a moron. was horrified. I let that one little message impact my whole day. And obviously, it stuck with me since this has been years, and I still use this example. But, one, I can be like, I'm not an idiot. I made a mistake. Oops. I was probably rushing. Not the best way to produce. I've never made that mistake again in written work. So I learned. And I'm thinking, he may have not really thought that big of a deal about it. He was like, oh, you missed a typo. It was a typo. Simple typo. You know what? I notice typos and things online all the time now. And I'm like, it's not the end of the world. It's not worth beating myself up over. And I'm not a moron because I made a typo. So why would I tell myself that? Now, could he have delivered the message a little bit better? Maybe. Who cares? It moved me forward. I learned. There's a difference between saying, okay, I made a mistake, I'm learning. All right, move forward, versus I made a mistake, I'm a moron, I'm so stupid. That's not moving me forward. So I challenge you. Be aware of what you're telling yourself. Because you can't delete, you can't unfollow your own mind. But you can change how you're thinking about things and how you're telling yourself things. It makes a world of difference. Try it. Start seeing how many negative messages you're telling yourself. And then work on changing them. If you're like, that makes sense, but I don't know how, I don't know where, I've tried, it's not worked, I'm here to help. Let's connect. Let's talk. I can help you. Trust me. I've been there. I've turned it around. Life is so much better. So, check out my website, virginiawalton.com. Leave me a comment on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Drop me an email. Send me any form of message you want. I can take them. And remember, maybe this didn't resonate with you right now, but you may have a friend who needs to hear it, so consider sharing it. You might be helping somebody more than you know. With that, be well.